Right. Hello, Varad.
Hi.
I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for joining me on the first ever Michelle's Conversations That Matter.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here with you. This is awesome.
I'm so excited. I have adored you, watching you. We met through a mutual friend, and over the past year and a half, I've just sort of been admiring all the work you're doing. We've had a chance to connect now and then, and I just love your energy, what you're doing. Whenever I connect with you, I get energized. So that's why I was so excited to bring you to my friends and family who might be watching, because I feel like you're so powerful that they should know who you are.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So can you, for the audience, I have your bio, I posted it, but for the audience, could you share with everyone who you are, where you live, and what you do for a living?
Sure. I am a life coach and I'm an energy healer. And my favorite is when you get to put those two together, because it's a really, really powerful combination of healing. And that's really what my passion is holistic healing, knowing that everything that you actually have, everything that you actually need is already inside you and you have it. It's just a matter of getting access to it. So that's what I help my clients do, is get access to their own powerful source of healing that's already within them. I live in New York. And what else? What else? What else I got?
You answered my question.
Awesome.
So my next question is really around this work that you do. I love that you allow people, or you help people access their own power, because that's something, I think for a lot of time, I was always looking externally, like who could help me? Who's the person that I could, sort of partner with, who could help me? And really, I love this idea of helping people tap into what they already have. So share with us a little bit about the work that you do, and sort of what you've been learning on your journey. And I know you've had your own healing journey. So just share with us a little bit more about that, and then like sort of how you evolved to now help other people.
Yeah, I would love to. Okay, this is awesome, because my mind, like, I'm so grateful today, because I could go now back in time to my younger version of myself and say, wait, just don't act irrationally. Like, don't jump out that window of your 7th-story apartment building, like, just don't do it. Like, life is going to get better. And I grew up in a family that has a lot of there was domestic violence in our house. I grew up hating. I just grew up in so much hate. And I hated, because I was getting so much anger at me and so much violence. And there was like just so much, it was just very chaotic. And of course there was good things, but it's really through the healing process that I'm able to even appreciate the good things. Because when life is so shadowed by violence or things that are so out of alignment to you as a child, it's so hard to see that there were so many good things about your childhood. And so there were good things, but it was so overshadowed by the insanity. And I just never really functioned well, period. And it's like, it's not a joke, it's like, I decided that, I was like, oh, well, I hate God, because I had the idea that God was the one that was doing it. I hated my dad. I thought that was a normal thing. I thought it was normal. I couldn't understand my friends that like loved their dads. I was like, it just didn't compute to me. You just always want to, get around or manipulate. And so like, that's how I was learning how to survive, was through manipulation, was through lying, was just through any way that I could. So I wasn't really a good friend. I remember like hearing stories about people that did these heroic things and they had such integrity. I didn't really have that integrity. Today I have integrity. That's a miracle. So, basically, to make a long story a little bit shorter, that was a little bit about my childhood, but that led me into this beautiful awakening of adulthood, where I still had my same survival skills in childhood that I applied to relationships and friendships, which are relationships, and to the different parts of my life. And it was also really difficult. There was just one time that I had basically, my thing was like, I would just always threaten I just wanted out. I wanted out of this physical body. I couldn't get peace in my life. And there came a time in college where I just prayed to whatever power there might be in the world and just said it. If there, I just want to know the truth. Is there a God? Is there truth? And I just had a really, really deep cathartic experience. And over the course of time, miracles started happening. I started to get introduced to, to a rabbi. I knew that I was Jewish, whatever. I became extremely, extremely religious. And that was very helpful for me because it actually took me on the path that I needed. But what happened is the religiousness of it ended up hiding a lot of my emotional problems. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting set up with somebody who was also somebody who wasn't religious that became religious. And, in the community, you get engaged pretty fast, and you meet somebody pretty fast. But, it would have been a miracle if I would have met somebody really, really healthy anyway, because we really attract who we are. And he was really the best thing, he was the best person that I was able to attract, and he really was, because we really matched on so many ways. And he ended up that he had a history. I didn't really know, but anyway, he had a history of mental illness. He had a history of drug addiction. We found this out when I was already expecting, but, so what ended up happening is he had a breakdown. His father passed and he couldn't handle it. So he reverted to a drug addiction, which ended up kicking off his mental illness that was latent. And it was the most traumatic thing that I think I've ever experienced in my life, was living with somebody who was actively psychotic. And also we had 2 small children at the time, literally 2 babies. And it really was, it was like the carpet was swept under my feet. And it was not a situation that was getting better. I got as much help and advice, but this was something that was completely out of control and, in and out of institutions, et cetera. And what ended up happening is, I had to really get control of this. This was not something that was sustainable, and I had to get divorced. And a year later, he ended up taking his own life. And I remember when that happened, I was besides myself and in grief and pain, but really what it was that I came to myself and I just said, that's it. I just said a prayer. I said, if there is anything, I will do anything and everything to get myself into a good healing place. Like, I'll do whatever it takes to heal. And so that way I can be a healing force in this world. So that way I could be a force of love and a force of light, somebody that I would need to have. Like, that's really was my goal, is just to do that. And so over the course of the next decade, I did whatever it took. It was some parts were more painful, some were amazing. And that's part of the healing process is, sometimes you go through pain, but then you have awakenings. And I had awakens, and ultimately I got trained as a coach. It just was a natural thing that happened because as I was getting healthier and healthier, and I've been through so much, like I have so much experience and so much things to tell people started asking me if I was a therapist, and I'm like, no, but hey, maybe I could be a coach. So and I remember, there's one more thing that I do think is important, is that what happened is after my divorce, that was really nice. Yeah, I would love to blame everything on him, but it wasn't like that. What ended up happening is my life, I had to face myself and who I had become. And the person that I had become was the person that I hated the most, because I did to my kids what my dad did to me. Like, I became an abusive person. And I had no control over it. So I was full of rage, and I hated myself, and I would literally beat myself up. I, again, wanted to take my life over and over again, because this was something that I couldn't kick. No matter how much healing I got and so many other things got worked out, I could not kick. Can you imagine kicking rage? Anyway, I couldn't kick that. Anyway, so, and that was really, really painful. And it was also the most shameful thing in the world, because when you're doing things that are hurting people that are not big enough to stand up to you, it's just a horrible, horrific thing. I traumatized myself. I was just crazy. And, but what ended up happening is I became willing, and, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
And I ended up just fine. I was never able to meditate either, ever, because my head was so crazy. I just wanted to stop the head. The head had to stop. Okay. So I was like, I was never able to meditate, but I got advice, like, just sit there and don't die, by a person that did that. I mean, Kyle Cease, he just went on and he just said, and he was living and doing what I wanted to do. He was talking to an audience. He was free flowing. He was so 3. And he was just like, listen, just sit there and don't die. The universe, God, whatever, it'll take care of you, and fall in love with all that is. And I took that advice and I said, you know what? I can do that. I can sit there and not die, because this is the thing about the mind. The mind is telling you you're going to die. The truth is you're not going to die. You're just going to experience some pain. But what ends up happening after sitting in silence is that you don't die, but what does die is the thing that's killing you. And that is what ended up happening. And that's my experience. And that's also what I help clients do. Sometimes we just have to clear out the brain in terms of coaching. We just have to kind of get on track. But then once you're cleared out a little bit, then you're able to kind of move into, and my clients have had remarkable experiences just being able to sit in silence, something that they were never able to do in the past. I've had clients actually sit there and they're like, oh my gosh, he sits there for 5 minutes. And in 5 minutes, he's like, oh, every minute was worth $1,000 because somebody had actually called him to give him like a $5,000 discount on his tuition. Like he became a point of attraction for this type of abundance to just kind of come into his life. So it's really cool what could happen with just sitting in silence. But just with sitting in silence, I sat for an hour a day minimum for a year.
Wow.
And and I had to meet myself. And it's like, if you could survive your own dis-easiness, you can get to the other side and become the most powerful force of life that you even can ever see. Like things that are happening in my life, the way that I'm able to help people actually blow my mind today. And that's what it is. So as I was sitting in silence, God just healed my brain. My brain started to heal, and I started to get into love and into what is, and loving what is. And
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. There are a couple of things that you said that I think are really powerful. You said that we attract who we are.
Yes.
And so I say this all the time, right? Because I talk to my friends about, well, we could talk about relationships probably all day, but like I literally feel like that I attract who I am, but also I attract who's familiar to me from what I experienced as a little girl. And they're not always the best choices, right? And it's interesting because I think until you can take that ownership and responsibility, you can't really do anything about it. You know what I mean? Like you could play the victim and say, oh, the only people that enter my life are people that are not good for me. But I love what you said about you had to look at yourself and know that you were the cause of that. Is there anything you want to add about that? Because you and I as single women, we get a lot of this.
Yeah. So what I want to say about that is that they are always the best choices. He was my best choice.
Yes.
People that I meet in my life, it's that it is the best choice. It just is painful. It's painful because our soul needs to evolve. And whatever it is that's painful is really a mirror for where we need to heal. So a lot of times we equate pain with bad. And what I want to say is, we get ourselves tied into a lot of situations that eventually, of course, you want to be able to get out of them. But the reason why you're getting them attracted into your life is because really simply, sometimes it's just so that way you could finally decide, this is not what my soul is going to be accepting anymore. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for this. Thank you for the opportunity to give me another opportunity in my life to honor myself and my own alignments. And thank you for the pain. And that's also what I want to say, because you could get stuck in, oh, look what is happening and this is bad and this is bad. Well, and what you said was really spot on, is about you're the one who's, I think, you're the one who's making the choices in your life. Like everything that you do is a choice. And you were saying an ownership. And that's where you get to own your power. Otherwise, it's just the brain going into the regular default, which is always going to be a negative default. It's always going to go into something that's going to make you feel hopeless. That's going to make you feel depressed. That's going to make you feel like a loser. Going to make you feel like a failure. Are you kidding? I walked around most of my life feeling that I was on the bottom of a shoe. Or I'd be like egotistical, thinking I'm better than other people. I mean, it's like craziness, right? It's like just getting into alignment with yourself, and it's interesting. So it is interesting because even sometimes when I would be go on a date with somebody or whatever, then I would figure something out because I'm like now highly intuitive. Now it's just so hard. You can't. Hide stuff because I pick stuff up all the time, so I know really what's going on with people. So he's such a good coach, right? So anyway, so I know what's going on with people, and so but but so in the past, when that has happened, what I have said to myself is like, oh, thank you for showing me where I am. I need to beef up my own spiritual program a little bit. Like I need to get more into alignment with me. If this is what's happening, then I need to take a break. And I've taken many breaks from dating. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So that way you could come back. And so many times, and I have had clients like this, you don't want to go into a relationship with the same brain that you just came out of a really bad one. You want to clean it up a little bit so that way you become a different person.
Yeah.
And so you're not ending up, that's what it is. This is about cycles and it's about patterns. And that's actually
attraction, right? And like law of attraction. So I listen to Abraham all the time. Really, it's like one of the only calming voices that help me. And she always says that your vibration is pulling into you the person that is your reality right now. And if you don't like it, that means your vibration is not where it should be to pull in the right person in your life. Right? Like, so for me, I mean, I think that really has me looking in the mirror going, well, if if I want more, I have to be more.
So, yeah. And so the thing is that I want to say about that also is that you get to also meet yourself. So it's like where your vibration is, it's like, yes, that's where you're attracting. So people will attract certain jobs or unemployment or, different things that they want to do. Everything is about vibration. And I love Abraham Hicks. Actually, just listening to one thing can literally, one of their episodes can literally just shift your energy, because it's about switching your thoughts, about feeling, and that's a very high vibrational thing. And that's another thing. You want to clear your brain out a little bit and go on to YouTube and use it for I believe, the purpose that it was intended to, which was to raise human consciousness, was to start getting into vibration and alignment with the stream of flow and goodness and love and power and divinity that you really, really are. And in that process, you meet yourself. You meet the part of yourself that you didn't even know existed. And that, I think, is really such an important thing, because once you meet yourself, your own soulmate, it's not a necessary, it just becomes something fun, a bonus. So you're not attached. So that's another thing, is being attached to outcomes. And that's where I see my clients sometimes also, like, they get kind of caught. It's like, because you want to make something happen. Yeah. But what I want to offer is that what you really want what you want actually wants you. So you kind of don't want to so much get in the way of that. You want to just clear out enough in you that you just end up attracting exactly the awesomeness that you are, because there's nothing that you need to change. It's almost like it's not like you have to become a different person. It's just you need to be stepping into more of who you really are. Yeah. The awesomeness already exists in there. It's just maybe stepping into, it's almost like, I want to say like you're birthing into more of who you really are. And that is a powerful force of love and light, because really at the bottom of it, what are you? You're a soul, and skin, where, you ever heard this, right? Where spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yes. I heard that. What is the you love most about coaching your clients?
What I love the most about coaching my clients is taking them through their own shift and watching their life actually change. Sometimes it's only even a phone call, and sometimes it's longer. But when I watch it over time happening, so I do two things. So I told you I do coaching and I do energy work. Okay. So what started to happen? Okay. So this is actually good. So energy work, because we're talking about vibration, and sometimes people tune out when they hear energy work, because it's like so out there and all that stuff. Yeah. First of all, I like things that are out there, but I also never understood what it was. And especially coming from where I was just happy to get myself out of the situations that I was in and into a really good place. But as my healing came about, what ended up happening, I had a friend whose baby had meningitis, and her head was swollen, and the doctors wanted that she should have a drain in her head, but for the rest of her life. So my friend, very open-minded, and she went to an energy healer and actually saw how the baby's head was shrinking. Look, it's my friend, and the baby actually does not need today. She didn't need the drain. So there's medical evidence. They say that she's a medical miracle. And that's what introduced me to the energetic world. And I said, does it help with emotions? So I got a whole bunch of energy sessions, and it brought me back to life. So how did this happen? What is it about? Energy. It's like physics. And I didn't even do well in physics, but I conceptually understand that there's something called energy. Because you tell me, oh, you have a great energy. Well, how is it that some people have a great energy, some people don't have such a great energy? Because of the vibration, because they're like, I just don't feel so good. And that's how I talk about it in terms of energy. It's like, how are you feeling? Because if you're feeling good, that's a higher vibration. So I learned to make a dictionary to translate. How do you talk about what is energy? So what I'm doing is I'm actually moving my own life force energy. Now I'm a trained practitioner, which is amazing. And I actually just moved my energy. I'm like, oh, why is that amazing? Because I never really got trained. You know what I mean? Because this stuff is so cool. Because it's almost like you feel like it's magic, but it's not magic. It's like it's love. It's like the magic, but like in a really miraculous way, and like a really good way. And so I'm moving energy up from my feet all the way up through my head, down my arms, and out through my hands. And so that is creating an energy field in my hands. And it's a high vibrational field. So if somebody is experiencing physical pain or they're experiencing emotional pain, most of the time, actually, when you're feeling physical pain, it's usually or always because of hardened emotions. Even if there's something that had happened, like an accident, the reason why the pain is still lingering most of the time, again, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just saying that there's trapped emotions, and emotions get trapped in the body. So when we're young and we're growing up, and our parents from the generational line can't handle their own stuff, and they never went to therapy, and they never took care of themselves. Like they just didn't have that option, right? So you're, as a child growing up, and you're having all these emotions that you're really not allowed to experience, because if you cry, you're told to stop crying. You can't really feel that way. Why? Because the adults in your life are uncomfortable, because they're uncomfortable with themselves, which is why, by the way, when you work on this, even as a parent, you have more space in yourself. You reparent yourself, so you have more space for yourself, thereby having more space for your own children to grow and to become who they are, and to have more of a functional relationship as well. All right, back to energy healing. So with my intention, I put the energy into the client. Either if it's a distance healing, 9 out of 10 of my clients will be over the phone. So I actually put my intention there, and either through talking or whatever, basically the energy goes, and as they're talking, as they're going through something painful, I'm putting that there's new energy that's coming into the body. Their body is using it as energy food because they're at a lower vibration. So they're using it as energy food to lift up their vibration, thereby healing themselves, which is amazing. And that's kind of having this conversation, it comes full circle, because this is all about healing yourself. And so the energy work just helps to move that along. Energetically, there's a lot of times where there's very stagnant energy. I come from a line where there's generational, there's willfulness, there's rage, there's all of this stuff going on. So that's all trapped. But once you could move things energetically, and also like while you're talking and moving things through, I mean, people's back pains have gone away. They just have, people have knees. There's somebody who,
Do you know, I think you probably heard of Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. So it's like, I love what you're saying, because I myself, whenever I'm experiencing some type of physical discomfort, I always go to that book. Because if it's something like, for example, like my girlfriend was having knee issues. So if you look at what Louise Hay says about knee issues, it's about inflexibility and the inability or lack of desire to move forward. So there's always like this metaphysical connection with the physical. I believe that. And when I try to tell people about that, to get them to look within and say, okay, so it's not just what you think it is on the surface. There's probably underlying pain or something. Whenever I tell them that, they don't like it, but then they go off and think about it. And then it's just an opportunity to reflect what else is going on in your life, and could it be manifesting itself as a physical ailment, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what's happening. And I love that, the inflexibility. I always look at it as your foundation. When you don't feel like you're safe, or you feel like you don't have a foundation, or if you're taking on too much, that'll manifest in its back. Your knee is going to feel that safety, like you don't feel like you're safe, or you're inflexible, like things can't change. But the thing is, life changes.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about life coaching, is like you start being able to handle life on life's terms. And that's an amazing experience, to be able to help somebody to be able to manage their life in a way that they're like, oh, wow, they got my mind. And now I'm able to manage better. I'm better with my kids. I'm better with my wife. I'm better with my husband. I'm better with my family. This is opening up. I'm starting to feel better. you have no idea, how much this has helped me. I didn't know that this was connected. The family stuff was connected to like the physical ailment. And it so much is, which is why people can get better when we work out the emotional stuff. And also it's patterns. I just want to say we have patterns, and different people have different kinds of patterns that are in their life. And some are abuse, some are addiction, some are codependency, some is manipulation. And they all blend together to make what we've basically been accumulating is generational dysfunction until now. And now is really the time. Now you look at what's happening, you think, oh, well, how could anybody have any peace or serenity in the world? Well, what I want to offer you is, how about make this the time where your life comes together while everything else looks like it's coming apart? Because it's not true. I believe that the world is going through this now. I know I kind of segued into this, but I just feel
that's
like
where I was going. See how
right? Because this
I wanted to talk about COVID because so carry on with that thought, because this is real.
Yeah, because this is what's happening is like what happens on a personal level is what's happening on a consciousness level. And, what's happening is there's a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion, but the world is actually in an upheaval. So that way it could come back to a place of original intent, which is to be peace, to be in alignment. And the more that on an individual level, we are all worlds unto ourselves. And the more that you get in touch with your own alignment, meaning you're feeling good, but from a wholesome place, not from like, oh, addictive, I have to do these things, or I have to get this thing.
Yes.
That's not the place. That's actually what you're seeing, right? That's what we're seeing, all of this chaos, people's wills and all that. So this is the time of growing. And so many times, and this is what I was saying about the world, it like looks like so many things, and so many things are falling apart. But what your brain is going to do is freak out. Oh my God, things are falling apart. Things are falling apart. Yeah, but you don't see on the other side of the falling apart that there is something beautiful and whole that is going to be created. And why would you want to use your imagination for what it's not intended, which would be worry? I love it. Worry is the misuse of imagination. So we actually have the ability to create the world that we want to live. It starts with right here. And then you can also go into, I remember when everything kind of subsided, people kind of came to their right minds. We started to get into alignment with each other where there was no like anything had more power over you than you in your own life and in your own sovereignty, so to speak. So this is a time for healing on a personal level. And that will ultimately be reflected, but it always happens. Every time that something happens, that it falls apart in your personal life, you're going to feel like it's the end of the world. It is. It's the end of that world. It's the end of your old story. It's the end of all that chaos. It's the end of all the confusion. It's the end. We are coming into a time that I truly, truly believe that this is going to be the time of peace, of serenity, of love, of healing, of forgiveness, of complete manifestation of what was originally intended. Of our miraculousness. Everybody's a miracle. Like you're literally a walking miracle. And it's just really about getting in tune with that part of you that really is.
I love that. I love that. That answers my question, because my question was going to be, you had to hit a point of darkness for you to get that your healing was priority for you. And then you started the work, you started the journey. There could be people watching right now who are just financially ruined. They don't have jobs. They're struggling. They're isolated from doing the things that they love, So, and they might just be believing what they're hearing in the media, right? So, I mean, what advice do you have? You sort of already mentioned it, that like going within is how we elevate ourselves, our vibration, and ultimately impact outward toward the world and help the collective world be a healthier, healing place. But what other thoughts do you have for someone maybe who's never even thought about doing something like meditation or elevating their own vibration?
Yeah, well, sometimes you're forced into it because things get so darn painful that it's like the only way that you get to look is up, like that there's only one way, and it's like that's you think you're in the worst part of your life, you're probably in the best part of your life, because then you get to open up and to, look, I was in a situation where I couldn't even work. I was having crying spells. I was totally traumatized. It was completely insane. And I remember, this is my priorities. I said my priority was my rent, and my priority was my food, and then it was my mental health. So no matter what, I always put my mental health first and made sure that that was taken care of. And I think that, like, it's almost like every single dollar that I spent on myself, like, look at it, that is the most important investment that I have ever made in myself, because now it pays off 10 times, because I'm able to help people in a way that I would never be able to help people. It's like, you can't stay stuck enough to then eventually feel better. Oh, I'm going to stay stuck. Some people even feel bad. They don't want to move into a better feeling place because they're just so scared. But because, oh, I don't want to feel better. People also, it's very interesting, is to have this idea, well, if I become more successful than my parents, then I'm going to be rejected. It's very interesting what the mind does to keep you. So it's really about, the more that you could clean out your mind, the more you're going to allow the flow. And when I talk about sitting in silence, it's because naturally, it's nothing inside of me that came in from the outside.
Right.
It's like, just picture a light bulb that's on, okay? And then there's coatings of paint, and you paint over the light bulb, okay? You paint over, there's somebody got yelled at, this happened, you got dumped, I don't know, something happened, somebody killed themselves, like horrible things, you're in financial ruin, somebody, 3 people, sometimes people die. I mean, all people go through so many things. And so they're all like layers of paint and layers of paint, until you get so down and depressed, like you don't even think. And the thing is, because your mind can't conceptualize something that's bigger or better than it, because the mind is physical. It can only know what has happened in the past.
Right.
It's like, that's why it's like, so what happens, you need some paint remover. So you could kind of remove that paint, because that light was already there. It's just all of these life situations that feel like they're so painful. And sometimes they are, but there's always, before our talk, this thought came into my mind. It was, grow where you are planted. No matter where you are, you're going to be used, and you have everything that you need. You just have to be willing to take the chance on yourself to reach out to whatever it is. If it's a video, if it's one of us, like somebody that can be able to help, just to take a chance on yourself and know if something's resonating. Go ahead and do it. Take the dive, because this is the time for us to get out of our fear shells.
Yeah.
Fear is not serving us anymore, not as a individual, not as a country, not as a world. It's not. It's an old vibration that is needing to leave, which is why you see all this stuff. And I'm telling you, even in college, I was like, I shut the news off. I know that they are not there. I actually graduated with a bachelor's in journalism. And one thing that they taught us to do as journalists is to make people feel like they are going to lose their lives. That is the purpose of the media. So that's a purpose of the news, like the journalism. And, if you want to sort through the stuff just to get some information, you end up hearing stuff anyway that you need to hear. But that's incredible, because what does that do? That keeps a person connected to the outside, and then you're getting programmed. It's a program. Fear is a program. It's something that is programmed. And this fear program needs to fall apart, and it needs to fall apart in us. Even the depression, even no matter what it is, it has to fall apart, so that way we can actually truly live and experience life the way you want to. Start creating what you want to create.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And I think it's important for us to really just be reminded of that, right? That fear is being bred in the media. So we have to be really mindful of what we're consuming, how much we're consuming, and that we're spending more time going within instead of going out there and looking for whatever, I love that. It's just so powerful.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for as much time as you spend doing that, I would say do twice as much in the spiritual stuff, and at some point it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to start feeling, because you already know, you have a feeling of what's true, like inside of you, of discernment. And eventually, once you start really getting into alignment with yourself, and that's, by the way, about silence, just one word on it, and is when you're in silence, what ends up happening is it's none of your business. Like, just sit there. Okay. It's going to be painful. If you need help, great. Like, I'm totally listen to videos, do this stuff. But what ends up happening is stuff starts getting cleared out. and then your natural, you end up being able to get more in touch with your natural vibration, which ultimately, and do what you love. If there's something that you love to do, if you feel like you're spiraling out of control, what is it that you love? I started to make jewelry like 5 years ago. I didn't know that because I started to feel so good about it and to be creative, that would end up leading me into a life coaching and energy healing business. So you never know. You just have to start going where it feels good. So if the media is not feeling good to you, don't go there. That's not in your highest good. It's about what's in your highest good. And if there's people that are making a buck off of you being in terror and fear, let's not go there. Go where it's warm, so to speak.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I've heard this before, that it's like the in the zone conversation. Like, what do you love to do? Get there so that you can spend more time being in your zone, whether it's, running or some type of artistic work or singing or playing music, like whatever that is, like run it in the ground, because if that makes you feel good and you're going to spend more time in the zone, that's only going to serve you. I mean, I love that. I love that reminder. I think everyone could find that thing that they do truly enjoy and just make it a priority to get lost in it.
Yeah. And, I think sometimes also people, like, I don't know, this just came to me is that, oh, well, I don't deserve to feel good. They just feel so bad about themselves, like so unworthy. I mean, when you've been yelled at and you have people and also empathic children are somehow always born to one or two parents that have narcissistic character traits. It's kind of amazing thing how that ends up happening. So I guess what I just want to say is that that's just your mind. It's just a program. It's just another program.
Yeah.
And there might be stuff that you maybe have to go through and take ownership in your life of where you need to get into alignment. Maybe if you stole stuff in the past, maybe you need to honor that and to start paying that money back. If you've been dishonest, if you've been a bad friend, you get to own that, but you do, and you deserve to do that. And everybody does deserve that. I mean, there's people that are in prison that are literally free because they have spiritually gotten themselves free. And, you could actually be in the same exact place. And this is the thing, it's really all about how you are feeling and what you're willing to do, because once you're willing, the world will open up, the universe will give you, because again, what you want also wants you.
Yes, I love that. I love that. What you want also wants you. I love that. And I like that you're pointing out the connection between empaths and narcissists. Because I do feel like I am an empath, and I do feel like I have had way too many encounters with narcissists. It's amazing. Why is that?
Yeah. So the only thing that I have seen, because I have actually experienced both. Okay. So I've had the narcissistic part of myself because I've been that part of the rage and that kind of and that addictive twirl. And then I also have the path of the empath. So it's really interesting because that's how I really also am able to help, because I also get that somebody who's that's having narcissistic traits, they literally are out of their mind. Like, they don't even understand the damage that they're doing because they've disconnected themselves from feeling and owning anything, And so that's why I'm not 100%, because I was able to actually get through it and to incorporate that. But what I really see is that empaths are really a big, beautiful source of light and love in the world. So it's very interesting because so many of us have gone through so many trials and tribulations, and you're like, why? What is this? Look, sometimes it's like, well, if you knew why, well, how would that help you? Because then, how's that helping? But at the same time, the thing that I do come up with is that really it's because empaths really have to learn how to own their own energy and how to be strong, because you become the most powerful healer and source of love for the world when you are protecting your energy. And I really do believe that this is what I know, that some things are very painful and children are victims, but you don't want to live there for forever. Right. And the empath, I really believe, needs to get more in touch with that power source and and learn how to make boundaries. And that's scary. That's what I'm saying. That is scary for an empath. But when you start moving away, and once you start getting into enough pain, you're going to start making the boundaries, and you're going to start moving those things out of the way that doesn't serve you. So that way you fully step into your power. And I see it happen all the time with my clients, with empaths. Your life, you're amazing. Look what you're doing. Look what you're stepping into. It's like, no, I could do this, because so many times an empathic person is going to get shut down all the time. And then the problem is that they believe this ridiculous story that has nothing to do with them. It's just some, mental issues that somebody else had, and it was being fed to us. And that's literally the story. And then you end up taking it on. But so I think I also think that empaths are healers and intrinsically. And so you have to kind of go through a little bit of pain or a lot of pain. I mean, whatever it is,
right.
until you can start to heal. But once you start to heal, start owning and taking responsibility for your life, and then also learning how to make boundaries, because if it's not a blessing for you to get run all over. That's not a blessing for the other person. It's not kind. So you need to learn what is kind. Kindness is not, oh, I'm just going to run myself thin and you get to do whatever. And, oh, yes, well, they keep doing this to me. No, that's what you have to, I am choosing.
I choose
for myself to be in this situation.
Yes.
So start owning yourself, and then you're going to be able to help.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I want to wrap us up, but I have one other question I wanted to ask you. Do you believe that because I've had so many conversations with my girlfriends about this, and just in general, my friends, that like, do you believe that like the lesson keeps showing up until we get it?
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happens. It's like I always say, like I help people to break patterns in their life so that way then they can create peace in their life.
Yeah.
Because that's what's exactly happening is there's patterns of ways of being that is not serving anybody, but then you get to break through them and then also create the peace. And they are going to keep showing up. But once you're able to go through the pain of owning it and go through that pain of healing it,
right,
that's when it does not need to show up.
Yes.
And then more layers get peeled through, but your life actually starts to get much, much, much better. And you know what feels really, really good? Owning your own power and feeling really, really good. That was not a good question. It feels really good to feel good. But that's the thing. It's like you think, oh, I have to think positively. Everything always has to feel good. No, that's the thing. It's going through the pain to get to the other side of it, to learn the lesson. So that way you can actually live and start creating. And that's really where the healing is. And that's really where the abundance is.
Thank you so much for being the first person on Michelle's Conversations That Matter. Vered, you're amazing. The work you do is amazing. How can people reach you? I'm going to put your information in the notes, in the comments of this post. But how can they reach you if they want to talk to you more about anything we've touched on?
Okay, for sure. So first of all, just look me up on Facebook. We could be friends. Like, go ahead and just be in touch with me on Facebook. It's Vered Segal on Facebook. And there might be another one, but you'll see my face because I have my picture. And you can also feel free to shoot me a text or send me a private message on Messenger. My phone number is 718-314-3784, 718-314-3784.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vered, for being here. You have a great day. And thank you for all the lives that I'm sure that you're touching through this video and through all your amazing work.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I love you, Michelle.
I love you too.
Awesome. Okay. Bye.
Bye.